Hey guys, what's going on? This is Chris Martinez, and I'm here to continue the story of Friendship is Tragic. Hopefully, this might be the final chapter. I don't know. If you want to see the two previous ones, I'll put a notice in the description below, so you can go check those out. Anyways, here we go. I'm not sure this is the final chapter because this is a long story. We're up to the part where Twilight and the gang goes to see Rarity to see how she ended up different. So let's go. So the last time I stood, it said something about she had come this far and opened her eyes slowly, which is Twilight. At the top of the steps stood Rarity. No disfigurements, no bulky body, no broken horn, no unimaginable horror, just Rarity, looking a little older but still beautiful. Twilight, darling, this is just wonderful, truly fabulous. When I received your letter, I did not know what to make of it. I mean, it happened many years, and Rarity slowly made her way over to the others. And well, you can imagine the shock, but I had to see this for myself. So I sent someone to this tavern I was told of. Well, I imagined the horror when I was told of this establishment. She got close enough just so she could speak quietly. I just couldn't make it the main ways of my entering such a place. So I sent Fluttershy to find her. The poor dear doesn't get out that often. So I thought to kill two birds with one stone. As it were. Rarity paused for a moment to gracefully spin around, stopping in front of them. And here you are, I might say. I was expecting Rainbow Dash and Applejack, but it's a nice surprise. It wasn't, my bad. I wasn't expecting Rainbow Dash and Applejack, but it's a nice surprise. I heard that you had both perished in an unfortunate accident back home. Then I was always the one for gossip and rumors. But here you are, all dirty and scruffy. Oh dear. Applejack and Rainbow Dash stood still, mouths wide open. Twilight looked for the opportunity of Rarity's silence to get a word in. Rarity, you seem normal. I have to say, I'm relieved. Rarity snapped back to Twilight in shock. Normal? Oh, no, dear. I look fabulous. But, darlings, you must come inside and let me give you a tour. We have so much to catch up on. But first, we need to get you two cleaned up. What? She said, pointing at Applejack and Rainbow Dash. Fluttershy, be a dear for me and show Rainbow Dash and Applejack to the boutique. Chop, chop. She ordered, ushering them away. Before it began to move, Rarity finally noticed Rainbow Dash's back. Ah! Oh my goodness! Rainbow Dash, your wings! What happened to your pretty wings? You poor thing. Rainbow Dash sighed. Ugh, this again? Can I explain it later, please? I had enough of embarrassing myself for one damn day. Rarity gave Rainbow a hug. Ew, that. Well, yes. She seemed to be saying herself, but aloud. Of course, darling. But well, yes, of course. You could tell Mama Rarity at your own time. But both of you go clean up, and you'll feel so much better for it. Rainbow Dash followed Fluttershy into the mansion. Applejack turned to Twilight and shrugged before following. Rarity turned to Twilight and let out a heavy sigh. It's my. Into Twilight let out a heavy sigh. Oh, is it my fault, is it not? She began saying as she started to walk to Twilight. Twilight shuddered for a moment, thinking of her friend's horrible troubles. Yes, I can't believe how badly things have turned out for them. Their lives are very interrupted. Oh, I meant, how awfully hideous they look now. Twilight gasped out loud to cut Rarity off. Rarity gave her a puzzling look. Oh, I still love... Hold on a minute. The story is a little... on. Oh, here we are. The story was loading. Oh, I still love them both to bits, darling. They're my friends. But did you see the size of Applejack now? Ah, she is more brutish than my personal bodyguards. And Rainbow those scars where wings used to be, surely you would think she would see sense enough to cover them with something like Fluttershy. Twilight stopped dead in her tracks, not sure if what she was hearing was real. I, I can't believe you would say such things. Rarity, they're your friends. Rarity turned to her, and as such I am merely pointing out how they could improve their appearances. For, for their own benefit. Darling, I am a critic. It's it's my job to find fault in things. Twilight knew it was too good to be true. There had been some catch to Rarity seeming to be the same. Twilight spoke up. I don't know what to say, Rarity. I never expect to hear something like that from you. Rarity laughed lightly. And I never expected you to disappear for years with no word. Times change, darling. I did not get to where I am today through kindness and generosity. They were my two ingredients, stopping me from realizing my true potential. Twilight shook her head in disbelief. Kindness and generosity made what you are. Rarity sighed at Twilight's outburst. No, it's not like I'm completely heartless. After all, if it were not for me, Fluttershy would certainly be dead by now. Twilight walked back up to where Rarity was. Yes, I have been meaning to ask about Fluttershy. That scar around her neck? How did she get that? What happened? That wasn't you, was it? Twilight didn't want to think that for a second, but with the way the day had been going, how could she think any different of what Rarity would do to Fluttershy? Oh goodness, no, don't be upset, Twilight, darling. It's still what... Twilight still wasn't sure what to think of it. Look when Rainbow Dash and when Rainbow Dash and Applejack are ready, we will have dinner together, and I will explain everything, darling. Twilight gave in with a light sigh. Fine, but I want to know exactly what happened to her from start to finish. That evening, Twilight and Rarity were sitting at Rarity's grand dining hall, both dressed in one of Rarity's fabulous dresses. Rarity was passing the time chatting away about the latest fashions and while, and half listening to all too anxious to hear the full story. Fluttershy entered the room and ushered in Rainbow Dash and Applejack, who were both clean and whistle and dressed in some Rarity's rejected clothing. Is this really necessary? Rainbow Dash moaned. I have to agree. Why are you making us wear these dresses, Rarity? It don't feel or fit right, Applejack sneered. Oh, nonsense, darling. You both look... Rarity paused to let out a sigh of sarcastic cough. Wonderful. Now sit it. Dinner will soon be served. Rarity finished saying as Fluttershy walked up towards the kitchen. Hey, Fluttershy, you gonna eat too? Rainbow Dash quizzed. Fluttershy paused for a moment, but continued on. So, Rarity, you promised to explain about Fluttershy? Twilight gave a friendly look. Rarity pondered. Well, I was going to start with a fabulous story about my rise to the top, but I suppose, as she isn't here to get upset, I can tell you. The others leaned forward, curious to hear the story. Well, darlings, I can't tell you every detail, as the poor thing hasn't been able to speak since I found her, but I could tell you how I found her. Slave traders had... What? What do you mean, slave traders? What was she doing with them? And what were you doing involved with slavers? Twilight demanded to know. I'll get to that shortly. Now then, from what I heard, Fluttershy became more and more obsessed with helping animals after we have all split up. So much so, and she began looking closer to every forest for more exotic creatures. Pony says she would often travel out there alone, and we only can assume that at some point she was filling up by a group of slavers. I'm not sure how long she was there. She was in the captivity. Captivity. Oh my god. I'm not literate. I'm not literate. In the captivity, but judging by the damage from her slave collar, it would assume it was a long while. I have wrote her many times, but I never heard from her, and no one knew where she had gone. Well, a few years ago, my business was just taking off, and I needed more workers to do some manual labor. And I will confess, I did dabble a bit in the black market. Yes, I know, very unladylike, but I was young, naive, a silly man who could not have. Just get on with it, Applejack protested, getting weary from all the talking. Yes, well, obviously, I have been on to one of these traders. Now, girls, you have to understand at this point, I treat my workers fair. I never had any intention of treating them like slaves. They're all paid fair wage here. Rarity's voice trailed off as she shared a nervous with two of the other ponies around the table. Rainbow Dash, Twilight, and Applejack did not look impressed. Yes, well, obviously I stumbled across Fluttershy, and after much crying and hugging, I attempted to buy her freedom. However, the slavers liked having her around, saying she was their favorite. I had to fight for her, not physically, you understand, but the deals, some cold hard negotiations. Eventually, I had used a quarter of my earnings, but I violently bought her freedom. We hugged and cried and hugged. I brought her back here and asked her to work for me, to help my business really fly. She agreed and became my assistant. And now she and I live side by side. Though she seems not to go out her way for me sometimes, a little too much. I told her that she is under no obligations to do anything she does not want to do. Twilight sighed. But you know she will, because she feels guilty for you having to pay for her. She will always be in your debt, Rarity. I know it's possibly me jumping to conclusions, but she doesn't seem happy here. She was flinching at the mention of your name, and she seemed terribly upset. I don't think it's fair, darling. It's more of a disagreement on certain methods I may use for my business. You see, these kind of dresses we are all wearing, well, the nobility failed. The nobility fall over themselves just to get one on order, and the material used to make them are rare, to say the least. Rarity paused for a moment, glancing nervously at the other three ponies before continuing. Normal fabric just will not do for these ponies. They need something exotic, something that screams beauty and passion. And so, we use more organic material. Her voice trailed off at the last few words. Twilight questioned. Organic? You mean from plants and things? This kind of reminds me of that manticore smell when we... Applejack said while... This kind of reminds me of that manticore smell when we... Applejack said while sniffing at the sleek dress she was wearing, while Ramadage eyed the leathery dress that she was wearing. Is this what I think it is? Rainbow Dash asked, a bit disgust mixed with horror carrying her voice. The three of them, won't realize what they were wearing, jumped out of their seats and threw their dresses off to the floor. Careful with those! These cost a fortune to make! Rarity screamed at Twilight as Twilight reached Rarity with her hoof and grabbed her. You kill animals to make these dresses? Rarity! How could you do that? Twilight screamed at the top of her lungs before calming herself down. Oh no! No wonder Fluttershy seemed so disturbed. Rarity brushed away Twilight with ease, her grip weakened from all disappointment the day Admiral brought. We do not kill animals. We merely recycle dead ones. All of their dangerous creatures. That's it bothersome. We put better use. We're not barbarians, Twilight. Twilight paced herself in the room just before she snapped. Well, this is perfect. Just perfect. Oh, what a beautiful reunion this has turned out to be. My best friends turned out to be. She paused to calm herself down, and she pointed at each and every pony and Fluttershy answered. A violent alcoholic, a reckless smart mouth, a mute Pegasus to our barbaric ice queen. Twilight screamed and finally broke down into tears. Why? Why is this happening? The other ponies stood around awkwardly for a moment before Applejack walked over to Twilight and put her hooves on Twilight's shoulders. I'm sorry, Twilight. No one wants to see you so upset after you've been through to find us, but we can't change what life has made for us. We all wish things had stayed the way they did in Ponyville. Well, except maybe Rarity. Rarity gave a small huff and turned her head. But you just need to be strong. At least we're all still alive, right? Applejack gave Twilight a half-grizzled smile as Twilight wiped away her tears. You're right. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm being so selfish. I was so wrapped up in my visions of us all being back like the old days. But I never took into consideration that you're all allowed to choose how you want to live. Forgive me, Twilight said, her tears drying up. It ain't how we want it, Sugar Cube. But you could have been much worse. The rest of the ponies tried to give a convincing. The rest of the ponies tried to give me a convincing smile as Twilight stood up. Oh boy, I can't wait to see how Pinky turned out, Twilight said, obvious sarcastic tone in her voice. Twilight looked at the others, who had gone from half smiles to stares of worry. What? Twilight asked, more worried to begin way down her arm. We don't ever say that name out loud, Twilight, Rainbow Dash said, breaking a soft sadness in her words. Twilight tilted her head, confused. Pinkie Pie? Dagnabbit, Twilight, hold your tongue! Applejack snapped at Twilight, who began to look even more confused. Why don't talk about Pinkie Pie? She asked. Darling, please, for the love of all that is fashionable and beautiful, please refrain from saying that name, Rarity begged, with Twilight, who was getting more annoyed than confused. Okay, what's the joke here? You keep telling me not to mention Pinkie Pie, but you won't tell me why. Twilight looked down at her legs to see Fluttershy wrapped around them, shaking her head. Twilight looked down at her and then up to Applejack. What happened to Pinkie Pie? The other ponies looked around at each other with a nervous and worrying look. Rainbow Dash opened her mouth to break the silence. Twilight, Pinkie, she kinda... Shut up, Rainbow, Applejack shouted over at Rainbow Dash. Shut your mouth right now. We promised not to. She has the right to know, Applejack. I think we should tell her. After all she's put up with today, it's only fair. Rainbow Dash shouted back at Applejack. She turned to Twilight and stood firm, bracing herself for the news. Twilight, Pinkie Pie, she... Before Rainbow Dash could finish her sentence, Applejack was upon her, threw her back legs and bugged Rainbow hard as she could, and smashed through entire table, scattering silverware everywhere. Rarity was backing away from the scuffle, while Fluttershy hugged the floor, trembling. Twilight screamed. Twilight screamed at Applejack to stop her attack. Pinkiest Rainbow Dash tried to continue to the Twilight, but Applejack kicked her again. Rainbow Dash fell to the ground, winded and hurting. But by this time, Rarity's bodyguards had heard from the commotion and entered the room. Will some pony please restrain her before she ruins any more of my precious furniture? Rarity screamed out. The bodyguards rushed at Applejack, grabbing her neck and backside. Get your stinking hooves off me, Applejack shouted and bucking like mad, flinging the two onto her, tumbling separate directions and keeping the other guards at a distance. All the while, Rarity was ushered out of the room. Twilight, Fluttershy, come on before you get hurt, she said, waving at the two to follow her. I can't leave them to kill each other. Twilight paused, looking at Fluttershy, who was slowly making her way over to Rarity, but looking back at Twilight. Go, Fluttershy, I'll calm them down. Twilight said, unconvincingly with a half-crooked smile. Fluttershy turned back and ran out the room. Rainbow Dash had pulled herself to her feet at this point and started slowly hobbling over to Twilight, while Applejack was busy dealing with the guards. Twilight, listen to me. She gasped as Applejack had changed through the last bodyguards and knocked her to the floor. I said don't! Applejack shouted at Rainbow Dash, who was too beaten to try to stand. We all promised we wouldn't speak about her, and I don't plan to break that promise, even if Twilight is here. Applejack's face was contorted with anger and frustration as Rainbow Dash looked up to her. But, Rainbow Dash started to say, the pain covering her face as she tried to stand and ultimately gave up, which she had the right to know. She then turned into Twilight. She then turned to Twilight, which caused her to grin slightly. Twilight, Pinkie Pie. Applejack didn't give Rainbow Dash a chance and bucked her to the side table holding a number of candles. The blow knocked Rainbow Dash out, and the number of still lit candles scattered around the floor, which caused a few to roll by the curtains and setting ablaze almost instantly. Dash! Twilight screamed as she watched her body fall into the ground unconscious and ran over to her. Grabbing her by the tail, Twilight tried to pull Rainbow Dash away from the fire, but found she was not strong enough. She looked over to Applejack, pleading her for help. Applejack looked at them both hesitant, but giving in with a huff, and went over and grabbed Rainbow Dash's tail too. She helped drag her through the mansion, and eventually outside, where Rarity was screaming as the fire in her mansion got worse, and Fluttershy was nowhere to be seen. Twilight and Applejack managed to save to get Rainbow Dash a safe distance from the burning building before setting her house down to the ground. Before setting her down to the ground in comfort. Twilight suddenly spun around and slapped Applejack across the face. Applejack was frozen in shock for a second from the unexpected hit, but came to spun her head back around to meet Twilight's gaze. Her eyes were setting with anger, but soon faded. I deserve that, was Applejack could say before Twilight hit her again. Her eyes filled with tears. You idiot! You could have killed her! You could have killed her! Twilight's voice trailed off as she began to break down. Applejack turned away embarrassed slightly. Twilight, please do me a favor. Dash wakes up. Tell her I say I'm sorry. Twilight knelt down next to Rainbow Dash, holding her in her arms. You tell her, Twilight said, weeping in a quiet voice. I can't. I have to go check on something.